journalist, a long-time writer in this business. And Scott, you go ahead and you fill in the blank here with me on this one, because I know you already know the answer to this. Just from the outside looking in, when Kobe Bryant was younger, he appeared to be more reckless than he did during this phase of his life that was coming up.
Right.
Okay, so I can believe that he said something like that. But I honestly do believe that his train of thought was definitely shifting as he was getting older and as he was leaving the game, and he was enjoying being a family man, and he was enjoying being a father, and he was enjoying the possibility of growing old and with his wife and his children growing up and him having grandchildren and going to proms and graduations and all this other stuff that we now know is just so sadly, unfortunately, not going to happen. But, you know, I'm not the biggest religious person, but I am very spiritual. And it's very true when they say that death and life are in the power of the tongue.
Right.
You have to be careful what you speak. You have to be careful about certain things that you say.
Well, yeah, you do, because obviously you don't know when your final breath is going to take place. You know, yeah, sometimes things have a way to work in mysterious ways without a doubt.
Yeah.
I get that, okay? And, you know, yes, it's ironic that, you know, LeBron passes Kobe Bryant the night before Kobe Bryant passes away. All right, I get that. But the reality that gets lost in this whole thing is this situation, Xavier and Lewis, could have been averted had Kobe Bryant had used better discretion. That's the thing that gets lost sight in this whole thing. Come on. You've got weather reports that are not favorable, as in the fog, all right? And you have pilot error, you know, where you're within 20 to 30 feet from the mountain. You know, I understand that it's one thing to die young, but you know what? This isn't like Roberto Clemente, Xavier. It's not, where this was a humanitarian issue. This was completely avoidable. I'm not trying to discount Kobe Bryant's legacy. I'm not. A heck of a basketball player. He's going to the Hall of Fame. And what should also be noted about Kobe Bryant is that when you look at his legacy of what he's meant around the world, there's no question in that. But we all know that you have to live every day as if it were your last. I think the one thing that should be looked at is he accomplished everything in basketball. Yes, he was the family man. I guess the only chapter that won't be written is what we accomplish after basketball, knowing he'd done everything on the floor. That's the thing that I'll be missing, knowing that he had an acting career and had a lot of worthy causes of what he had to do. So, you know, but again, and I've talked about this throughout the program, and we're continuing with you, is there was pilot error involved, Xavier. We're talking about a helicopter that went 180 miles an hour with inclement weather. This was completely avoidable. It really was.
Yes, John, I definitely agree with you on that, and that's something that has completely, and it still bothers me a little about this entire incident. You really wish that Kobe had used better judgment. You wish that the pilot had not have been cleared for takeoff.
Right.
You wish that somebody, and my news director was having this conversation just a few days ago, and it wasn't even related to this tragedy, but it comes into play with a situation like this.
Right.
In certain situations, there is usually at least one person who has a difference of opinion than someone else on a certain thing. And all it usually takes is if one person just speaks up and says, are we sure we should do this? Have we taken all of this into account right now? I don't really think we should do this. You know, if one person just speaks up in that moment,
right,
maybe all of this doesn't happen. And, you know, also take this into account. The pilot was told to hold when he was close to the Burbank airport. and he circled around 6 times. He had 6 different opportunities to turn back around and go back the other way and try to land the helicopter and to call a private driver for everyone.
Right.
Like, yes, this is definitely something that continues to bother me with all of this, but I'm not going to engage in conspiracy theories about this just simply because I want to have respect for everybody who was involved in this, because this is just still an unspeakable, unfathomable tragedy that took place.
Well, not only that, Xavier, my heart goes out not only to Bryant's family, but the passengers' families as well. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
this is beyond Kobe Bryant. It's about the passengers' family. And that's the saddest part about the whole thing.
It's how they're being ignored.
Yeah, I think this thing should definitely be focused on a lot more. And to Mrs. Bryant's credit, she's certainly trying to defer some of this to them. And I know that all the funerals will be properly taken care of, which is besides the point. But I think the rest in peace should be to the families that were on that plane, in addition to Kobe Bryant and his young daughter. I really do.
Scott, I definitely agree with you on that, and I want to give a kudos to all of the news outlets who have mentioned all of the members who were on that unfortunate flight. I want to give a kudos to Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks, who wore on his sneakers the other night, "Rest in peace," and he named everyone by family name who was involved on that horrific flight. And, right now, I also want to take this time to give props and kudos to all of the news outlets who properly handled this entire situation on Sunday.
Right.
Beginning with ESPN. Because, of course, we have seen throughout these past 4 days, especially on the day this actually took place, we have seen some very irresponsible, wrong, and negligent journalism.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, it definitely, you see that some people's jobs are being called into question, and as indeed they should be, because when you start reporting things like there are people who have been pronounced dead on a flight that weren't even on that helicopter, that is some serious business, and you better know what you are talking about. Because if you don't have that written in for a fact, don't say it. Because you don't know where the family members are, where the friends are. You don't know what people are doing in the moment that they may receive news like that. What if somebody, I take it to the Rick Fox point. We had heard very early on in the afternoon that Rick Fox was on that flight with Kobe Bryant. And
right.
you're sitting there thinking, where was Rick Fox's family in that moment?
Right.
What were they doing in the moment? Was somebody driving, getting some news like that, and then it turns out to not be true? And thankfully for Rick Fox and his family, that wasn't true.
Right.
That was very wrong, and that was very negligent, and that was very irresponsible. And I won't even get started on Vanessa Bryant having to find out online that her husband and her daughter, but first her husband, had been killed in a helicopter crash before she could properly be notified by the authorities.
All right, we got about a minute to go, Xavier. So
I won't even get into that.
We have about a minute to go, and I want to make sure I mention this. Neither you or Lewis were alive when this took place, but I'll refer back to the Reagan assassination. Being a old school journalist like I am, a guy by the name of Frank Reynolds, who used to work for ABC News, who was an anchor, went ahead and ripped his colleagues on the air for the Reagan assassination for irresponsible reporting, and he was animated and angry. He said, I don't care about getting it first, I want to get it right. And I think Frank Reynolds is a modern, it's too bad people wouldn't appreciate Frank Reynolds for what he did. For those individuals that don't know about Frank Reynolds, Google up Frank Reynolds for ABC News and Google him, and then you can get a feel for how he handled things, because I think that he would certainly be an individual you could appreciate in this sort of thing. But Xavier, we got about 30 seconds to go. Any final closing thoughts about Kobe Bryant?
Well, I just simply want to be thankful of the fact that we were blessed with the gift of Kobe Bryant during his time here on this earth. And I want to thank Kobe for all the memories, the wonderful memories that he leaves us with. And I want to thank Kobe for the Mamba mentality, because the Mamba mentality really helped shape part of who I am today. And, just very sad situation, but I will always be thankful for the memories. And rest in peace to all of the victims who were on that flight, and prayers and condolences and nothing but the best of positive energies to all of the families involved.
Well, Kobe Bryant's headed to the Hall of Fame. And unfortunately, I hate to say, him and Roberto Clemente have something in common, that they died before their time, and they're going to be going in right away. But Roberto Clemente is a name that stands out a lot. But Xavier, we appreciate you coming on to Sports Exchange. I know you don't do it very often. Certainly love to have you more often when your situation presents itself. But for those of you individuals out there, Xavier and I have a program called The Real and the Rare, and Xavier gives it his best in the kitchen. So, Xavier, thanks again for being on the Sports Exchange, and have yourself a great night. We enjoyed your commentary on Kobe Bryant.
Thank you, Scott and Lewis. Thank you guys for having me.
You're very welcome.
No problem, Xavier.
Thank
Be
you,
good.
Xavier.
Thank you.
So, again, we try to make light of the Kobe Bryant situation, and the only thing that I can say about the whole thing is it's strictly unfortunate and it's tragic.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go back to what I mentioned earlier about Chuck Hughes dying. He's the only player in NFL history to died of a heart attack. And the only thing I can say about the Chuck Hughes situation, when I was myself, I believe was 8 years old at the time, is he never had a chance to say to his wife that he loved her after they had an argument the night before. And I know to this day she probably feels bad about it. Things happen, but you know what? And I ended up writing a story many, many years ago on ScottForks33.com about it. And, and I ended up getting contacted by some of his family members thanking me for recognizing Chuck. And that was the first brush that I had with death at a young age. So, the whole thing about Kobe Bryant has been unfortunately tragic, and there aren't enough words or mentions that you can say about the whole thing that changes anybody's feelings, and we're getting it throughout the course of the week broadcast, and I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to chime in when they can. And ultimately, the families will definitely have to be able to try to heal at some point, but I know it won't be easy as the tributes go ahead and start to come out over the course of the next several weeks, years, and so forth. So
I honestly can't really remember a death, in the lexicon of celebrity that's really kind of hurt, the entire continent pretty much. There's just people all over the world who, in one way or another, I think when you lose people like this, even if you don't know them personally, what hurts the most, and I saw a video today and it kind of had me on the verge of crying, was a young woman outside the Staples Center placing flowers on her grave, and she was telling a story that when she was a kid, she broke her leg and she was sitting inside watching her friends play. They're all outside, and to be able to recover from, the temporary melancholy associated with not being able to be with your friends outside was watching Kobe Bryant play basketball. And I think that really speaks to the beauty of sports, and that they have healing powers. And when you lose people like this who they kind of go back to a place in your childhood, they take you back to that moment in time, you kind of feel like that part of you just kind of dies as well, unfortunately.
Okay, our next guest is a contributor for the South Florida Tribune, Jake Rongholt. Jake, thanks for being on the Sports Exchange. How are you doing tonight?
Scott, it is great to hear from you again. How is everything in Miami?
Everything's going great. I've enjoyed my work with the Super Bowl so far, and I'm looking forward to some more work on Saturday night with the Taste of the NFL. It's been a lot of fun. As you saw that I posted on social media, it was great to have an opportunity to have 5 great individuals that I was able to post on my social media accounts as well. So I know I'm referring to Joe Buck, Barry Sanders, Howard Balzer. Oh, my goodness.
Joe Davis?
Well, no, it was later on.
Yeah.
But Solomon Wilcox was another one.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah. I'm drawing a blank on the other one, but I had Howard Balzer, was one of them. Eric Hippel's the other one, thankfully, so I didn't have it. So it's been a lot of fun, being around an area. The only bittersweet moment, though, Jake, is unfortunately we're talking about Kobe Bryant. I understand it was a major event that took place on Sunday, but, unfortunately we're dividing airtime between the Super Bowl and the unfortunate circumstances surrounding Kobe Bryant. But that's decided.